everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. These are my very unprofessional unboxings that I'm going to do. I did change the perspective a little bit so you don't see there's some stuff still blurred. There's a cat in the window, well, a stuffed cat anyway, and some papers and that. But there's some of my gaming collection on this side here. And some dice and a lamp that I did turn off so you don't have a flash in your face. But I'm going to open this. It says Studio 2 Publishing DBA Pinnacle Entertainment, but I don't think it's that. I think it's something else. And I do have my handy box cutter here. I don't think it's a like Pinnacle is Savage Worlds, but I don't think it's that. Maybe there's another distributor. It's perforated, but I feel like I still need to like give it a good cut with the. No, you can't even do that. A good cut with the there you go. Box cutter. And here it is. It is perforated, like I said. And lo and behold, it is not Savage Worlds. It is in fact the Fifth Frontier War by for Traveler by Mongoose Entertainment for Traveler, the fourth edition. So this is the Fifth Frontier War. Is like a what is it called when you have these sort of mega plot event in the Traveler universe in the Golden Age. So the Third Imperium has fought 4 frontier wars against the Jordani Consulate and its allies. Worlds have changed hands, borders have been readjusted, but never has the Imperium been seriously threatened until now. As Jordani battle fleets emerge from jump space at Regina, a fate and jewel, something is different this time. The Imperials are divided, arguing on who should be Sector Duke, even as raiders tear through the Lunion and Gliston subsectors. Banth is under ground attack. Extole is burning. The Imperial response is fragmented and ineffective. Reinforcements are months away, and the sector admiral is spittering away what forces he has. So I think you're supposed to play like a campaign out of this, where you jump into a trench at the fall of Lamp, or join the intrigue at the ducal court at Mora, run weapons to the Inigabar insurgents, or chase Swordwold raiders across Lunion, hold back the Jordani at the first battle of Regina, or lead the breakthrough of the 40th Fleet as it lunges at Messine. So it is a mega plot event, and if you play Traveler long enough, you know that back in the Mega Traveler days, or the Traveler days after, when they started doing the classic Traveler universe, the official Traveler universe, as it is called, and they had the Fifth Frontier War, and then maybe about 8 years after that, or 8 years after that or so, maybe 9 years or 10 years after that, they had like another empire shattering event. Although this, in a way, is more isolated to the Spinward Marches area. So it's a first frontier. The Fifth Frontier War is the first source book in this massive campaign that can span years of play and powerfully alter the charted space universe. So I guess it could become your own Traveler universe. The end pages has sort of opening moves in the Fifth Frontier War, and the Imperial response on the back side. It clocks in at about at 192 pages, and this includes about a 3-page index, and it consists of an introduction of the historical perspective, over strategic realities, overview of the conflict, the belligerent powers, the order of battle. So in a way, it sounds like an Osprey book, or this is lined up like an Osprey book. So it talks about the Imperial order of battle, Imperial ground forces, then the belligerent powers, Jordani naval order battle, Jordani ground forces, then the Darien, Swords World, movers and neutral and minor factions, then movers and shakers, personalities of the Fifth Frontier War, then the progress of the war, the precursor phase. So I guess that's where you would start. I'll probably take a look at that really briefly. The Riverland campaign, Corridor Strategic Reserve, the Corward Frontier campaign, Lamp, Flat, and Messine campaigns, uh, some sort of Sword World campaign, and minor theaters, point of decision, and then the timeline and how you would run the campaign, and narrative event resolution, which is probably kind of important. So, so yeah, it's something to probably digest and read and see how, in a way, more like a backdrop. I don't know. Well, I have talked about this cool book called Ships of the Imperial Fleet or something like that that I got from Mega Traveler, that has all the stats and the pictures of capital ships. I mean, it'd be hopefully, I'm sure there's a mass battle system somewhere in the Traveler books, in one of the books, maybe in the Mercenary book or the Imperial Navy book. But I feel like you would have to, you're to run these, I see these pictures with the orders of battle and how many ships they have in each squadron and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty crazy and very detailed. I mean, I guess if you ran like on a tabletop or something, um, right? Then you know how big these things are, right? So how, I guess that's the question. I'll have to get back to you and see how useful are these pictures of all the different fleets, right? And what do they do, right? And then how do minor factions work and all this kind of stuff. Maybe it's, again, it's more like of a backdrop of events. And this gives you like more of the source book for that as the backdrop of these events. And then you throw the players sort of into things. So they have Delphine, Dorina, Mudashir, the Duchess of Mora, Duke Norris, the Duke of Regina. They have some Viscount of New Rome, the Rear Admiral, a provincial governor. Oh, these are the Jordani provincial governors. A lot of different people. So it should be interesting. I guess they're NPCs or patrons. You could use them as patrons probably. There's a progress of the war and all this kind of stuff and how it works and what happens. Lots of maps and things. So here's an example of like a map and how it would go. Because yeah, you show it like this and how it would go in the different sectors. I'm gonna look at these sort of like these are the precursor moves, and it describes like how it goes, and then what happens. It's almost like what happens during the war, as if it were a history of the war. So the important thing is when you finally get to page, I think it's 189, right? Actually, the war runs till 1109, or the timeline goes from 1107 to 1109. Yeah, and I think curious, I will let you know that in my current ongoing Traveler campaign, we're in 1105. So maybe if we play long enough, player characters will get to 1107. But a lot has happened in the first half of the year already, right? So the characters have had a long career, they've traveled here and there, they're become ennobled. Anyway, running the campaign. It's a giant mega campaign or multiple cross-cutting campaigns. Everything that happens is influenced in some way by the conflict, but that does not mean adventures have to be all about violence and bloodshed. Indeed, it would be possible to play out the entire campaign without the travelers firing a shot. Some travelers are not really interested in the fact that the Johnny and Imperial fleets are pounding each other. They have a heist to complete or intricate web of intrigue and corruption to investigate. So it'd be like if you're playing in Star Wars, an Edge of the Empire campaign set during the the rebels era, right? So it doesn't matter what's going on in the battles, but it could influence on how smuggle your baby crate dragon. So I guess it gives factionalism. It doesn't really, there's really no adventures. Well, here's motivating and involving travelers. So I think you'd really have to, like I said, there's no set adventures. You just have to kind of, I guess I would have to sort of read what's going on here and see how the player characters would. Oh, they do have like a little sidebar, say Riverland Endgame Adventures in the Riverland campaign. So it gives little tidbits, adventures in the with Imperial reinforcements. So give little tidbits about how you could throw in an adventure, and you really don't need a lot to run an adventure. I mean, I've had the player characters jump to a world and then just roll randomly, and suddenly it's an adventure. So it doesn't take long or much. And if you look also at the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel, the Borderland Run, you see that if we jump into a system, sometimes there's a random event, and all of a sudden it's an adventure. So that can happen. What happens portside? Trying to smuggle stuff, power and influence, and then there's a whole section here, narrative event resolution. So it's a big story. The Fifth Frontier War is a big story requiring shifts of forces from grand strategy to resolution of a traveler's attempt to get a hatch open before their friend runs out of air. So sometimes you go 6 seconds, sometimes you go longer. So I guess that's what that does. Then there's like guided narrative resolution. The travelers can take damage. You could do it like a skill roll and see how much damage they could take, and if there's setbacks, etc. So yeah, it's definitely worth reading. Again, I would probably maybe treat this like as an Osprey book and a gazetteer and a history book of what happens in the Fifth Frontier War. Yeah, it should be a fun read. I've always liked this kind of pseudo history of the official Traveler universe. So yeah, it says it's one of the most important events in charted space, Titanic clash between the Third Imperium and the Jordani Consulate. Yeah, pretty neat. I mean, they've covered the Fifth Frontier War in previous editions, namely in the classic Traveler. So it'd be cool to see how Mongoose Traveler has their take on it. And then if they move on to other things, like there's these things that happen in the official Traveler universe that are hinted at or mentioned in either in the old Challenge magazines, the Traveler's News Service, or in some of the books. So maybe they'll get to something like that, right? The Jordani Corps expedition. I know they did like the Spinward Extents with Soleimani expeditions out into the extents, and those sort of polities have developed out there beyond the rim and almost beyond at the very edge of known space. They've kind of done that to, well, Spinward Extents, and they've done like the rimward expeditions. That's what they are. So Spinward Extents, beyond the Imperial frontier and what goes on there, and then Soleimani. They always do they've done a Soleimani book. Those are the two main areas that it seems that campaigns are usually running in the Soleimani sphere or in the Spinward marches. And then they've done like the rimward expeditions that the Soleimani have done, Terrans, if you will. So those could be pretty cool. It could be a fun place to campaign. I know that Digest Group Publications, when they did their Mega Traveler stuff, they also had campaigns set on the trailing side of the Imperium, so aligned with Hyver and Kukri space. So I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, that was the Fifth Frontier War for Traveler Mongoose, Publications Traveler, the 4th edition. 01. I guess there's going to be multiple ones of it. All right. Thank you so much for listening. That has been What's in the Box unboxing on the Geomologist Presents YouTube channel.